Okay, Jess is behind the camera filming, trying to start a podcast. Locked in. You could bring your phone. Just keep your phone in here. Just bring in the phone. Come on. There's no rules here.
I didn't want it to go off.
Nice. You're nice. Welcome, Jess.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I'm so happy you're here.
Cool. Thank you for having me. This is
of course.
This
so
is awesome.
This is the first podcast back in a little hiatus I had. SLEWNIVERSE. I think this is episode 22. Really excited for people listening or watching. We have been hanging out for only 2 hours, but we have just met today for the first time in person.
First time.
But we were good internet pals.
Yeah, but it was like seamless, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun connecting with another creative person, and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you.
Of course. Yeah, no, this is epic. We have a super fun day planned, and also our buddy Kipto flies in tomorrow out of nowhere, crazy. So we might have a fun day with him. Yeah, it's funny because like the people on the podcast have been actually like a lot of different sort of artists. I mean, you, Doak, Peter, 100, Kipto, like we're all kind of similar. We have like the same job-ish, but I actually have talked to more people that are unlike me. So during these times of people who are in the same world, I love to just like ask sort of the origin story. And we were kind of talking about it before.
Origin story.
But like of YouTube, that's what I mean. Like obviously you're an artist. Like if you do you want to introduce yourself? I don't even think I said your name yet.
You guys can make up the name.
I'm sorry.
What's the name, Slew?
Jessica.
You're gonna attempt it. He's gonna attempt
Karpishin. Jess Karp.
Full name.
Yeah,
is
no,
a little hard to pronounce, but let's just go with Jess Karp. It's easier.
Yes, Jess Karp.
Hey everyone, I'm Jess. I go by Jess Karp. My full name is Jessica Karpishin, but we go by Jess Karp.
That's not that hard. I should have gotten that.
Yeah, just gotta let it roll, you know.
I did the S before the Karp, but
I'm a full-time artist and illustrator now, working full-time with YouTube as well.
Full-time YouTuber, artist, amazing. One of my favorite artists, absolutely incredible. I mean, most of the people hopefully are listening that know you and your channel and everything.
Thanks.
But for the people who don't, just earlier when we were just hanging out right in the beginning, we were going through each other's sketchbooks.
Yeah, we sat down and we looked through each other's sketchbooks, which was really great because I feel like looking into someone's sketchbook is like looking into their world, and I think that I love and I enjoy painting inside the sketchbook and drawing inside the sketchbook, capturing the moment. That's what I do.
Yeah,
and that's how YouTube actually took off.
I was like, my toes were vibrating. I was about to have an orgasm from like your drawings. I mean, just the most amazing drawings and paintings. Like,
thank you so much.
Just in a sketchbook, just little sketches, right? That you probably do. Yeah. And we talked about how you're a really fast illustrator, but with so much accuracy, cleanly lines. Like it's jaw dropping. Maybe I'll overlay some of the pictures of your artwork, obviously, for people who are watching, because this is a video podcast.
Thank you.
But let's start chronologically, because that's an easy intro. I just want to know, like, from FIT, which is an art school here in the city, you know, you're passionate doing fine arts, right? That's what you wanted to do. You did it. You gained a lot of skills. How do you go from that to, did you have any semblance at all of YouTube and videotaping?
So
and like now in this career?
Right. So for me, what happened was I attended art school, so I was always in the art world and I was always in the performing arts. So I was always doing dance and art. So my life was always do I take the dance route? Do I take the art route? So I was always in between both. So I figured I can always do art full time and have dance as a hobby. Because when you dance, as soon as you're like 35, a little crossing over 40, you know,
your cartilage is gone.
You're done. So, and I was dancing ballroom, so that was like on high heels, and there's a certain age gap that you have to just make sure you cut in that moment. So I just decided to do that full time, and I was teaching kids and dance as well. And I decided to go into illustrate. First, I went into fine arts in FIT, which is basically an art school that has a fashion school as well. But
what is it?
It's called Fashion Institute of Technology. It's short for FIT, and that's here in the city where I was born and raised in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you're a hardcore New Yorker. Yes.
So it's really nice to be back in the city. I've been away for 3 years, but it's really nice to be back in that energy. But once I went to school, I started in fine arts, and then I took a trip to Italy and studied in Italy.
Okay, can we break this down a little?
Yes.
So, because I'm sure you get a lot of questions about art school. I get bombarded. I only went to art school. I went to Parsons for 1 semester.
Yes, I get a lot of questions. So this will hopefully let's clear it up.
So what is the fine arts major? What were you actually doing? Were you painting?
So let's break it down to fine arts. Where I started, it was a lot of painting from the model, immediately into oil paint, immediately into drawing. We had drawing classes. We had oil painting classes. We had a sculpture class.
Love that.
Which was awesome. And I'm all about, training all the muscles that you have. So as long as I was doing that, it was really great. And I was painting in fine arts, and professors were telling me I am too detailed. I'm too tight. I am too...
too good. No. Okay, so this is...
And then I studied in Florence in Italy with an illustration professor.
An atelier?
It was just an illustration course.
Okay, so it wasn't
it was open to everyone in the school.
Okay, so but was it like the atelier, again, this is like sort of the difference, art school versus an atelier, the sort of super mega traditional drawing, painting, sculpting from like antiquity almost.
No,
like
he had actually he had a whole, the professor who's incredible, Cam Mack, I'm very close with now still. Was the reason why I went into illustration. He had a whole thing of teaching us egg tempera, which goes back into the old master's days.
I've never even done that.
And it's painting with egg yolk, and it's magical. It's so... I had to show you some of those paintings. Those are cool.
That is crazy.
So after I studied there, I had all the seniors. I was a freshman. I was very young. I was like 17, scared to fly alone. That trip defined my whole look upon travel. Once I went there, all the seniors were like, you have to be an illustration. The way that you paint, the way that you draw, you're just illustration. I had no idea what even illustration was at the time.
I'm even confused about the differences.
I think both worlds should come together. I think everybody should love one another.
Can you give an elevator pitch of your definition of illustration versus fine arts in 90 seconds flat? Ready, go. I'm kidding, but because that's interesting. Because I feel like they're so intertwined. Like, I don't even know if I could define, but I feel
like there's the way that the program was structured in fine arts was very much different from illustration, and I think that I'm glad I went to both because I saw both worlds. With fine art, I mean, I feel like every school is different, so I don't...
Can you give your opinion? I want the Jessica Karp illustration versus fine arts. And this isn't written in stone. This is just a simple thought right now.
I also... Okay.
To differentiate.
Specifically on the schools, I did my research on the professors, and I found a lot of the professors teaching both fine arts and illustration in the illustration department. Because they have a different outlook. Like, illustration can be anything, and fine arts can be anything.
Okay,
fine art...
You didn't give me a definition.
Fine arts...
I'm fishing for one.
Fine arts, it was more structured on your vision immediately. There was not a training of, here's an article, illustrate it based on these words. It was, what is a vision that you have? Come up with it and make a painting or make a drawing, make a series of pieces. But I also think in illustration, there was a certain skill set and structure that fine arts did not have.
Interesting. Which is what? I need this context. Come on.
Structure of a plan of the... As a student, structure is very important to understand when you first start. And I think having that structure in illustration, I feel like we had a syllabus. We had everything broken down. This is what you're going to learn. This is the goal.
Okay, so the curriculum
was very structured in my opinion.
I thought you meant the actual act of drawing something. Like, if you wanted to draw this little character right here,
I felt
as an illustrator versus a fine artist.
I also felt, in another sense, the students that I was around were way more focused and passionate in illustration. I felt a lot of like hang out in fine arts, ease your way in through art school, which you've seen before too, which is important. And I felt very different because I was always so focused, and I was like, how can I learn more? How can I keep learning and keep progressing?
Well, I think that's sort of like the truth of really good draftsmen and artists. It's like, it's not just hippy dippy, I want to express myself, which is great. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But if you want skills and you want to manifest, real true draftsmanship, you have to train and you have to learn and you have to study correctly. And it's like very just like a language or playing soccer. It's not just, let me just come up with an idea and do something. It's a truly process of learning. And that's funny because it's so interesting you say this, because Zach, who is, from high school, and my friend from Parsons, who helps me with the figure drawing, we're good friends now, lives in the city. serendipitous how we met, actually.
They SLEW went to Parsons.
I went to Parsons for one semester.
And I went to Fashion Institute of Technology with different years. But I think speaking with other artists in different art schools, you kind of compare the curriculum. And I personally had an incredible experience in art school because I think I did make sure that the people that I was learning from, I supported their work. And I always, when I did guest talks back at school the other day, I always said, make sure you research your professors, make sure you're passionate about their work, because you're going to be able to connect with them and you're going to be able to ask questions and learn. So I get a lot of questions about art school. Should I go to art school? Is art school important? I have two opinions. I have an opinion of an experience that I experienced that was incredible, and I'm so for art school. Because
you're the golden child, almost, poster boy for art school.
You get that experience, but it's also what you do with it.
100%.
It's very easy to relax through art school. It's very easy to go through it and just get your degree and go. But nothing is going to be spoon-fed to you after. You have to work hard. You have to work smart. And learning how to draw is the hardest thing.
Totally.
Being an artist is very difficult, but it's very, very rewarding, and it's a dream.
It's so funny. This is perfect. We're like a perfect panel, because I'm like sort of bullish on not going to art school and doing it on your own. And it's funny. I was going to say, Zach, he was a senior when I was a freshman, and we met during figure drawing, open figure drawing classes, which they had, which was like the best part. And he would always be like, dude, like, I wish I was in the fine arts program. Really? And then after saying that, and we became kind of close, and I was just familiar with people. I would just be like, yeah, I think of dropping out. Like, I don't really, all I want to do, I know what I want to do. And Parsons isn't filling this void. He's like, you should just leave, man. Like, I kind of wish I left. And he was actually the one who kind of was this older person. We're the same age, but who's gone through the curriculum being like, you know, you might not want this. So it's very just interesting.
I also like to say that everybody has their path, and something works for someone and something may not work for another. So it's also about how you look at it. It's perspective. It's
totally. I mean, how you went, see, this is another issue. It's like, I went into Parsons. It was my third university. I started out as a freshman. I was already 22, 23. So that's a completely different experience. Like, you went in straight from high school, no?
Yeah, I went right away.
So that you knew what you wanted. You didn't, you know, I didn't
even actually tour the school. I didn't tour any school. I just applied, I got in, and I went. Yeah. I also got into SVA.
Ooh, that's
Tuition is 6 times more than FIT. Yeah. I have no student debt. I paid everything myself. I had a job. I was teaching dance. I was teaching kids.
You're a fucking hero.
So I paid for everything myself. Didn't ask for a penny from my parents, which is great.
That's amazing. Good for you. That's really incredible.
Yeah, do your research. Some of the professors that are teaching in high-end schools teach in a little bit more of a school that has a budget. But I think when you're paying the high-end school, you're also paying for the students you're surrounded by. Do you agree?
Totally. And they're the lazier, richer, more like not, that's like they say the same thing about like community college. It's like, you're going to find probably smarter people at community college than an Ivy League. That's not true at all. It's all different. But, you know, it's exactly what you said. It's what you put in, you know, like whether it's SVA or you're watching online videos on YouTube of me and Jess, like if you put in the work,
there's so much information, and like I said, if you really want it, you're gonna find it, and you're gonna make use of it. Whether it's going to school, if that's the way though you learn. Everybody learns differently too. Like the way you learn could be very hands-on, or maybe you like to read more. The way I learn, I need to I need to have an explanation, I need to write it down, I need to like sketch to get that in and be hands-on. So I think maybe just the approach from different professors may not click with you. So you just got to keep trying, got to keep maneuvering, and keep a positive mindset to see which way is best for you, I think, right?
Yeah, then I found the atelier world after I left Parsons.
I haven't tried that yet.
And that's where I fell in love, and I wish that I went into straight from high school, where you're just in a circle, you're kind of doing your own thing, you're learning. There's also like teaching parts, but you're kind of just on your own, and you just have hours upon hours of just drawing.
I was such a good feeling.
And it's sort of like the community that helps you progress rather than just like individual training. Anyways, I want to stop trying to be a motivational speaker for people.
I highly, just to finish off that note, highly recommend, if you guys haven't been to a drawing session, just the energy of being in a room full of passionate artists drawing and capturing the figure. Yes. Isn't that magical?
Oh my gosh, it's like the best thing
magical.
Ever. All levels. Not ever picked up a pencil before or a weather artist.
Yes, just being there and just focusing and having music, and it's magical.
Totally. I want to talk about just more you. So from there, great rant by both of us. How did you get into YouTube?
Okay.
Because that's a whole other discipline. Not only being a unbelievably weathered, awesome artist, you know, branding yourself, making videos, editing, like the whole world of production and blah, blah, blah. Walk me through that origin.
So to be completely honest, I never thought I want to be a YouTuber. It was never like my dream is to be a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. It only started to develop into a dream when I started to be doing it. And what happened with me was I have cultivated sketchbooks upon sketchbooks, and they're sitting, and the pandemic actually happened. And I started to consistently post. That's when I started. And I started to share a sketchbook. I shared a sketchbook, and I just flipped through it.
On YouTube?
On YouTube. Mm-hmm. I put out a video just for it. I didn't think of branding. I didn't think of anything.
But that even baseline of, let me document why? Like, you just wanted to share your work?
I thought I wanted to share my work because I thought, that's a good question. I think I was getting very good responses to my sketchbooks, and it made people feel warm, like when they'd flip through it. There's family, friends.
Yes.
And I captured moments. That's what I enjoyed doing. Mm-hmm. And when I started to flip through it, I thought, why don't I share it? You know, I saw other people. I think I saw one sketchbook or two sketchbook tours back then.
And you're under the umbrella of pandemic. You have nothing to do. You can't do much. So you're
I moved from New York.
Okay, you moved to New York to Florida.
And I started fresh, and I thought, let's try something new. Let's try something new, and let's figure it out. I'll figure it out. But I didn't think that it was gonna. You know, I just shared it, and I spoke to a dear friend, and he says to me, he reached out to me, and he goes, I see something really special in the way you make videos, but I want to tell you, the way you structure your title and the way you structure your description, change things up a little bit, and you're going to see how that changes. Wow. Because, you know, when you first start YouTube, you think you have to put the whole description and you have to just put everything in the title.
Just the learning curve of
So he said, focus on that. And I focused on that. I shortened it, sketchbook tour. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think I just I left it at that.
Good thumbnail. Pretty good thumbnail.
Perhaps. It was just my art. It was a flip through of two heads flipped upside down. It was colorful. It was pink and blue. So I guess that maybe it happened. I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't even know anything. I only started to figure that out on the way.
Yes.
So I posted that. Wake up to
a skyrocket.
A skyrocket, and then I was like, what else can I push? Mm-hmm. I love teaching. My first passion was teaching, educating, helping. Mm-hmm. And I was teaching kids. I had a background in teaching kids.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I taught for a while. And then I thought, why don't I do like a 10 ways to fill your sketchbook? Skyrocket. Like that was the video. And then you need one video to snowball everything.
Everything. You need to bring the eyes, and then you need to keep the eyes.
And then the
monster.
No, I meant to say the monster. The monster. Yeah, the monster of YouTube, and the beauty and dream and hassle and crazy and
totally
hard work and hardship comes through. And then I figured, I'm reaching people, I'm helping people, and I can be anywhere. I'm here. The pandemic, and people went into like a lot of sadness, and I wanted people to see that there's still good out there. So if I could do that through my art, and if I could do that through me somehow. I was very nervous to share my face.
I believe
First,
it.
like 10 videos, I didn't share my face, or 20. I didn't share my face. I was very nervous. Talking to the camera is not easy, but
it's vulnerable. Like that's the thing. It's like, it's easier than it looks.
Putting yourself out there.
Exactly.
People knowing what you look like is a big step.
Yeah. And it's just like pure, like on top of making people feel good or sharing your art, it's just like entertainment. You know, it's like for me, like I actually, it sounds cliche, but I love watching myself. Like I like seeing my own process, not in like an ego way. It's just, it's entertaining for me to see A to B painting, first step to finish, but it's also even cooler to just like analyze myself. So I'm just always interested in like, you're like, it's only been 2 years since you've been doing it. You've found so much success. You're so good at it now. Just people's origin stories. It's just so interesting to me. And I think the pandemic was a common denominator in a lot of new influencers and
it was an opportunity for people to go one way or another, and it was an opportunity for you to assess, like, are you going to focus, or are you going to fall into, I mean, you know, it was a sad time. However, it's important we still try to see the light and be the best that we can be.
I bet Florida was fun.
And moving to a sunny state was nice. It was refreshing. It was a new start. And I think when you shake things up and you go into a new place, it opens up so much inspiration. And I think that when I started that fresh start, it definitely helped. And when you look back at it, you realize that it does a lot of good. Totally.
Yeah, that's fascinating. My kind of follow-up piggyback on that is, now that you've had a few years, you're kind of in the community, you were a part of the 1000 collab.
Amazing project. Thank you, 1000 for starting
I know,
that.
the best. That's so
and
awesome.
Kipto sent it over to me, and we just had such a cool, it was such a cool collaboration.
So I would say you're fully, I'm not the, mob boss or commencement speaker of our group, but you're within completely the art community now. Everyone knows you. We're all sort of friends, which is great. What do you think, or if anything, has changed about your artwork? Do you think making these videos has changed your process or how you make it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
As a trained artist from college making art to now, it's sort of, still the passion, but it's your job,
Right.
You have to put things out. And I'm curious if that's changed things within you.
Well, I think it absolutely has. And I think it's better. My art became better, but also creating videos is an art of its own. And I realized that after I started to do it.
Hell yeah.
Creating a story, telling a story through a video is a whole other aspect of it than making the art or sharing you have to be able to tell a story. You have to be able to engage people. It's a whole other form of art.
Yeah. You're really leaning into that.
Thanks. Yeah. I think after the collab, I really saw this new world, being inspired by all the artists that I connected with. Before I even did YouTube, I watched 1000. He had a video where he showed his camera equipment or something, and I was like, wow, cameras, what do I do with that? I grew my whole channel with an iPhone.
Oh my gosh.
If you want to make videos, just make them.
I'm gonna clip that. That's so exactly. You don't need anything. I'm such an idiot.
Good audio is important.
Way more important.
Get a good microphone.
Whatever. Audio over video.
Mr. Beast only uses 1080p.
30 frames, yep.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Jinx, you will get as many sodas as you want. Yeah, we are going to paint each other. But going back to that,
so
please just continue, because
I think creating artwork is
storytelling.
I took a children's book class, and I wrote a few children's books.
Hell yeah, that's so cool.
And that was originally what I wanted to go into. I had some meetings with some publishers.
As an illustrator, writer.
Yes.
Oh, that's
and
so
I still write, and
also.
it's like a thing. And I think I found that through video. When you make a video and what you speak is a story, you're telling a story.
And you kind of I don't know if you really write down scripts or shot lists, but you kind of do it internally, and that in turn creates some sort of narrative. It creates some sort of, arc of your video. Again, we're documenting a painting or a drawing. That's sort of the baseline of content, but how do you string some sort of narrative within that?
Right.
Your big self-portrait that was many parts. That was very in-depth, and perhaps almost an hour and total of different parts.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
It was an in-depth,
as a contextual.
Yeah. So it was one of the recent projects I did was a self-portrait of myself, because it's something that I was always fearing. I always thought, why I love capturing other people, but I've never kind of captured myself in the moment, and I felt so much happiness and euphoria in that moment of my life. So I wanted to capture it. And I think that the way you feel is always captured in your art. It'll communicate to people.
Well, if you're as amazing as an artist as you, I'm sure.
And you.
But it's hard.
Every artist puts a piece of their soul and their reflection in what they do. So I think with that piece, I had a vision to really bring the viewer into to sit with me and get to know me through my art, and also through a narrative.
Yep.
Conceptually, but there's a thin line. You can't get boring with it. You have to be true to yourself. And I think I was very true to myself. And also this battle you feel when you're on camera is you have to get over that barrier. So when I told the story in that sense, I feel like I really nailed it, because I thought it was an experiment, but also something that I was fearing, and it was out of my comfort zone to be very vulnerable. It was a very vulnerable project.
A lot of talk about yourself, and
talking about yourself is you don't want to come off as like
pompous or boastful.
I genuinely wanted to share like my heart and
no, you're I think if anyone knows you for 5 minutes of video, you're pretty authentic, and you're not here to like try to look cool or sound cool.
No, I mean, I truly wanted to bring people along, and I enjoy having you like hold my hand and walk with me, and that's why I started sketchbook dates. So
and a lot of people enjoy that.
You find your way through the process, as long as you evaluate what you stand by, your message, your purpose. So yeah, and I think when I told that story and I played around with camera work, played around with film, I started to pay attention to how that can form out the story and help the self-portrait.
And how you could tell it differently.
And also do it justice, because making a giant painting is hard. It's a lot. And then making video about it is even harder.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so funny because...
But it's great.
You like are going through the same stages that like I went through in terms of like, and I'm not trying to say I'm like, again, crystallizing me on like some hill looking down at you, but like I started the YouTube journey a little earlier. I've been doing it a little longer. You're having a lot of success. It's not about that. I'm saying like the transition of like just making videos or time lapses to getting into filming, like really making and leaning into the editing. Like I did, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole collab with 1000 really inspired you with video work and like really boosted production. Because the same with 1000, like he had the same sort of like random pop of really getting into the video storytelling.
I mean, you look at anybody's YouTube videos from a long point perspective, you know, from basically a span. It progresses and it changes and people flourish and it's amazing. Like you look at 1000, I watched 1000 probably from the start. But it's incredible how people form into themselves and how people, it's one thing putting out a video, but getting responses, getting your community to positively react,
affirm you.
And I think that when I speak to my audience, I want them to feel like they're with me. And I think that evoking emotion is very hard when you tell a story. And I'm a pretty emotional, sensitive, like happy, you know, energetic, loving person. I try to be as loving as possible. And
I think people also love like female content creators.
Really?
And I mean, I think because there's less of them. And like you being so vulnerable, you being so open, amazing artists making amazing videos. Like
I just want to warm hug everybody.
Okay, not everybody. That's for damn sure, but most. But what I'm saying is, as a female, and please tell me how you feel about that. Maybe you haven't thought about it. I think people really lean into it because there's not as many. There's a bunch of, you know, guys making content, but like really having an insanely bright and honest window into your life. Yeah, you know, I mean, there's female artists I follow and I love, but they don't go as hard as like with the personality and like, you know, I think you're really leaning into it and there's a gap to be filled. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. How do you feel?
I think I actually haven't thought about that really. I
mentioned that to another girl on the podcast and she was like, what are you talking about? Really? And I kind of felt bad. I'm not trying to differentiate men or women. I'm just saying I think there is a
this is something to think about. I mean, like the yin and the yang, like there's feminine and masculine things that you can offer, and I think I just try to be me. I try to be me as much as possible, and like I love watching male YouTubers. I love learning from male, like the way like guys do things and the way girls do things can be so different because we have a different eye, we feel things differently, you know. And I think it's really interesting that's why like collaborating on that project was awesome. Like everybody's style was so different, and I did my best to like unify it in a very like warm way, but also strong. Like women are very strong. We're also very tender. So I tried to keep that balance. Like I'm all about balance. That's me.
I like that. That's good. Yeah.
And so I think it's good. It's good to look at both. It's good to feed your mind with both.
Yeah, I was talking more of like analytically. I think there's just less.
I guess I didn't think
women
about it
creators.
Much. Maybe you're right.
Artists specifically. I'm talking about like what we do, like vloggy, intense art videos.
I think I'm the only one.
There's some.
Well, there's a few.
Chris Hong, but she doesn't show her face.
Yeah.
There's amazing female artists, but I'm saying that go.
I also connected with Valerie. She does Valerie Lynn. Yeah. She's awesome. She posts
She's so awesome.
She posts like more intentional, like gets your mind thinking on very soft,
aesthetic, amazing. Yeah. She's great. So those are the people, but like they go to the nth degree.
I didn't think about that.
They really document, really talk to the camera. So On top of being an amazing artist, it's just you're skyrocketing.
Thank you.
Money. I'm just kidding. But I'm so jealous to just really switch it up because I was just thinking of you had James Gurney, because do you watch the whole thing, I'm guessing, and it was so funny talking to his wife and that other like toy guy about the conjumbled canvas.
This whole collaboration is so beautiful to see where it's going to go. Where is it going to take us? What's going to happen next?
And Aaron Blaise is next. He's probably taking his sweet damn time. But he is like the godfather of The Lion King. Like he literally was the animator for The Lion King.
It's
hand drawn.
It's going to be a good time. I mean, everybody brought their A game. Everybody, this project gives you an opportunity to show what you are about and what your message. So I think that it gave you an opportunity also to challenge yourself, step up your game, and be inspired with one another. And lead the story into each other, which is really great. And it's just it's such a blessing and happiness for me to be part of such a project with everyone. Like Kipto's painting is staring at me, you're painting. I mean, you were part of the first collab.
First one.
I don't know if people could repeat. Can they?
What do you mean?
Like if we were to choose.
I don't think they would want to.
Yeah. So it was. How was it for you? Did you enjoy the project?
Awesome. I mean, the funny thing is,
I love watching that video and seeing where it went, and
it took like a, I'm saying skyrocket, like out of nowhere. Like it went from 1,000 to me, and he sent it to me. He was like, "Dude, let's do this like video collab. I have a cool idea." And I was like, "Sure."
Didn't think
much about it, and then it just kept going. And like when it started going to Martina and Alpay and then Jazza, I was like, what?
And everyone brought their spice to it, everybody brought and you don't know where it's gonna go. Everybody brought their spice, and it's a beautiful idea. And I think no one.
It was hanging right there on the other side of the door. I don't know if you saw it, the print of the first one. We'll see it later, but
okay. Yes.
Yeah, but
it's an amazing project, and I think it needs to just go on forever. If we can get as much, I'd love to open a sketchbook and send it out to everyone so everybody can draw inside. I feel like I'd love to have all the artists in one room so we could all hang out and draw together. Like it would be super cool but super overwhelming and like a giant wall. Yeah. I think who said it in one of you guys' videos like dope.
Someone 1,000 was saying that at his house he wanted to make a really big wall, just like Smo, cool. Smo.
Yeah, but I've never seen his wall.
He has like a garden wall, a humongous wall. They does huge murals. Anyways, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so we're Liwing.
I got a question. Switch it up. What's your favorite medium? And if you can only choose one medium to use for the rest of your life.
Says to the girl who literally trains in all mediums. Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that why you're so amazing. Like I can't stop.
Can I give you 3 answers?
Yes, but can I just compliment you really quick? Oh. You are so talented. It's insane. And like I was saying her before, looking at her sketchbook, like my goal as an artist, like I have a lot of different interests, videography, painting, blah, blah, blah. But like my goal to drawing is to be able to draw like you. Like it is fantastic. And you are well disciplined in all of it. Oil painting, watercolor.
Thank you.
Like they're all similar and they inform each other, but to have the technique, right? We're talking about the nitty gritty application of paint or line work of illustrating with pen. Like it's a lot. Like you got a big brain and experience. So that's it. So please answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. No, thank you. Versatility wise, if I were to take a book or a paper or something and can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
A ballpoint pen.
Boom.
Ballpoint pen or like a marker, like a brush marker.
Why, please? Because
you can get value, you can get pressure. It's bold. It doesn't allow you to be like, a pencil smudges, a pen. You're making a statement. This. You put it down, done. You could start light with it. You could go in darker. And you can make beautiful. There's beautiful ballpoint pen artists that make.
True.
They just click away on the ballpoint pen, and that's all they need.
And the versatility, you're definitely right.
And then if you get a brush marker, you could be very quick with. It's versatile. I guess maybe a ballpoint pen would be quicker to just get things in. You could cross hatch. You could get detail. You could get loose.
Yeah, I'm just picturing you on like an island, like you getting like capsized, and you just have like a sketchbook or several and a ballpoint pen. And you're just like, I'm good. You're just there for like.
There's a ballpoint pen that has all the 4 different colors.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's it.
That's
all
so
you need.
funny.
Sometimes it's all you need. Sometimes the overwhelming aspect of which supply should I take, and I was packing all my supplies for this trip, and I'm thinking like maybe I should just leave everything and just take one thing.
I think you're totally right.
You know?
That's like sometimes it removes people. It removes me. Like even parallel I always bring with videography. Like you were just saying, you filmed most of the videos on an iPhone. When I was starting out and I was getting interested, I was like, oh, I need this camera gear. I need these lights.
You
blah,
gotta
blah,
go
blah.
for it.
You got to do it first. And same with painting. Like when I started oil painting later in my artistic career, whatever. And I was so overwhelmed. And that's why I didn't start earlier, because I was like, what medium do I use? There's so many like attributes that I don't understand. How much do I let it dry?
I really think though with oil paint and certain mediums, you need good quality paint and good quality paper for it to handle it, you know?
No, I agree.
Like art, you know, starting off, like it doesn't matter, I don't think. But I think as you progress, you'll notice, like camera gear, for example, at first you gotta know the simple things before you go and jump into like a FX3 or you jump into a big boy camera. Which is a dream and amazing. Camera, you just, you know, I spoke to one actually videographer, and he was like, no matter what you touch, no matter what camera you put, no matter what arts, and I say this about art supply, I think it's a very, very valid point. No matter what you touch, you have to enjoy using it.
Yeah.
So if you think that like X person has this camera, doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy using it. Or if you like, you know, you got to enjoy it.
Or enjoy / does the job. It's like, you know,
you gotta like
a beginner can probably use an FX3 or the nicest oil paint and the nicest sable brushes, but not know the difference, you know, like only when you're a professional can you, those subtle differences make a really big.
Put in the hours and then you'll realize the difference. And that's why I love stretching all the muscles with different art supplies, because I'll know when I need to, you know, I have a project I have to complete. I'll know exactly how every art supply works, because I'll know exactly what's going to help me do the job. And I could tell you a fact about every art supply because I have experimented with it. I've gotten to know it like the back of my hands.
You really have. I think me the most intriguing, and this is, I just love nerding out with you because there's not often I can nerd out with like different materials. I think watercolor is so amazing. It's almost like
one of the hardest mediums.
It's the hardest medium, but I think it has one of the best effects, you know. And not only that, I really like, you know, doing colored pencil over it, or even some pen. Like it's can add to it. It's fun in that way that it's like it can kind of take other things, but it's so hard, man. And that I think you need. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
What I've found in my practice of watercolor is you really need good paper. If it's not thick absorbent 100%. Paper, you won't almost have no control. And then same with the brushes. Like you need a very soaking lots of water brush. So like a normal oil painting brush perhaps won't really work because you do need water. Sorry to interrupt. Rant.
No, please don't. Please interrupt. It's very good. It's the truth. I was talking with my patrons, and one girl was she was having so much trouble. She's like, why is this not looking the way? And I said, what paper are you using? And she was like, I don't know. It's just like a paper, like cheap, it's very thin.
Watercolor paper.
It's very thin. It's I don't know if it's thick enough. And I said, try this. Like invest in a good. Sometimes you have to invest in a good supply. In certain, like there's certain things that are good. Like I love cheap pencils, and I love cheap mechanical, pencils. Ballpoint pens. I love the ones you use.
The yellow one that you twist.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, there's so many very affordable supplies, but there's just certain things that really do the trick. Because it's just the way that the art supply performs on that surface. I guess surface is super important.
Yes.
Longevity. The way the color even appears on the paper. Ooh, art supply talk.
I love it.
Should we keep going?
Well, what's your favorite oil painted color? I usually say this to oil painters because I love oil paint colors and I am obsessed.
Are we going into like a serious pigment, or are we going to just like a versatile one?
No. Yeah, like you're just like what's your palette?
Colors,
let's start like this.
Picking colors is hard.
Do you have a palette though? Like, do you have a certain you know how there's like the Zorn palette? Do you have like a Jess palette, or do you?
Jess palette.
Because I kind of have a me palette that I'm comfortable and familiar with, that is versatile enough. And it's like there's an agenda with each palette. I think it's cool to talk about.
I think I like surprising myself with a new palette and just limiting sometimes. Limiting can go a long way. But when I saw artists create crazy intricate pieces with just the primaries.
Yeah.
You know,
so that's what I kind of do. I do 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 blues.
That's it.
And like a brown and white.
Yeah.
And that's like a lot, but
it's still, you know, there's more enhanced palettes, but
yeah, it's like warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, brown, white.
So usually how it's structured is having one cool color, one warm, warm yellow, one cool yellow.
Yes.
Cool, warm.
Yeah, and like that world that's honestly the alchemy of oil painting and mixing colors, like what brought me in so much, because
do you mix your colors before you start painting?
I do both.
Full
sometimes.
palette.
I do both sometimes. So like the painting there, the elf that is unreleased, perhaps, like the mountains and the sky, I kind of pre-mixed because it's like
I feel like it changes, right?
It's low contrast to like more chroma, so I kind of wanted to see that on my palette before. But for like the portrait of that, like I'm pretty familiar with skin tone, so I didn't.
So yeah, let's talk about that. You just mentioned low chroma, so maybe some people don't know it, right?
Low chroma is the chromatic attribute of a color is the saturation of the color.
So if you would desaturate things in the background, it would push them back, and the more saturated comes forward.
And contrasty, so darker, bright brings forward. So it's like the atmospheric perspective.
You don't know how good it feels to talk about.
Dude, I'm literally in heaven. I love it. And you want to know the funniest?
We're in heaven, guys. Welcome to heaven.
I have a funny story that I just want to push in that has exactly to do with what we're talking about. The second day of my second semester of Parsons this is when I withdrew. I was in a color theory class, and the first day the teacher was talking about these words: chroma, value, primary colors, tertiary colors, and she was asking the students, and no one was answering except me. And I was looking around being like, you don't know this? Like this should be...
That's why I'm mentioning it to
This
is
the
audience.
language of painting. Like you have to know these things. And then I withdrew. I was like,
let's give everyone a lesson real quick.
Yes.
So what's value, SLEW?
So value is,
how light
or dark something is. And you could think of it from 10 little squares from white all the way to black. And those are, there's obviously infinite.
Seems simple. Yes. Seems simple, but the first thing I think you should do, and we did this in art school as well, is, some people jump into color right away, but it's very important to just know how to mix color and value. Do the grayscale. I showed this in my videos. Some simple things. Just doing that first can change your whole experience with what you're doing after.
I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest thing as a beginner to nail down is understanding just the theory of value.
And it takes time. We had a whole semester of just black and white.
Dude, well, that's how the ateliers train. Yes. Ateliers, you don't touch paint until the second year, and then when you touch, it's all grisaille. You don't touch color in ateliers till like the third year.
Yes.
So that's food for thought. And planes, I think.
Marinate.
Yes. Oh man, I'm feeling spicy. Planes and value.
So we went over value, guys. Are you taking notes?
Yeah. So form. Let's talk about form.
So we have values. We did chroma.
Chroma. Is
so how saturated, desaturated something is. And then now what we're touching on is...
I want to talk about the three-dimensionality, like the form. How it's an illusion. We're painting on a flat surface and we want to see a voluminous form.
When I first painted a head, I was always very trying to make it super soft and round. And one professor came to me and said, find the angles. I was like, angles? Yeah. But it's a round object. And then he's like, look. And then when you start seeing that, things actually can be, stylized a little more angularly. So the skull.
This is Proco skull. It's gorgeous. It's magnetic.
God, that's amazing.
Right, it's so sick.
So yes, learning from a skull is at first when you're introduced that, you're like, oh boy, what is this going to teach me? But when you look back at it later, you're like, this is so important.
So the thing
anatomy and form and this is all planes. This would be one plane. This would be another plane. Even there's a side plane.
Yes. So simplifying shapes into
one big complex
forms, like a block. I know that's a technique, the blocking technique, and there's different ways.
It falls hand in hand even in photography and video when you play around with shapes, when you play around with the way that those shapes are formed on your face or on your art, or the composition. That's a whole
You're very good at that.
Its own.
I want you to drop some knowledge on composition real quick.
Can
you define composition?
The way you position shapes and objects into one cohesive frame, evoking a response to those shapes and the way that things are positioned will draw the eye in. So there's a psychology to it.
Totally. The golden ratio or whatever.
Sorry if it took a little moment to get that out on the spot.
Because I think I would frame it similarly. I think I would frame it within a frame, the arrangement of shapes, color, whatever, but mostly shapes and how they interact with each other.
How they interact with exactly.
To deliver the final
Sometimes that you think the positive space, negative space is what it is in, forming in the middle, and then the negative space is all of that area around.
Right.
Sometimes that negative space creating interesting and focusing on the negative space and the way those two interact.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so... And
what a great discussion.
I know. I'm nerding out so hard. Cesar Santos?
Yes.
So he did this video where he walked around a gallery, like some famous gallery, whatever, and was kind of like analyzing the paintings from a technical draftsman point.
Interesting.
So not about what it is, a woman, or like what the flowers represent. He was talking about the engineering of the painting and how we're seeing it.
Yes, there's so much goes into that.
I learned so much. Like even like you don't even know. You have to squint your eyes to sort of
check that out. I haven't seen that
dissect things. Like there was this woman in a field and her face was generally darker than this background of sun, but you wouldn't know because you're looking right at the face and it's popping out at you. But it's because the artist was so smart with its values, and like that's maybe obvious to us, but it's done so subtly, masterfully, that you're just like, again, if you're a nerd, you're just gonna squirt everywhere.
Art nerds, raise your hand. Creative nerds, raise your hand.
But this is like, again, we're talking about the language, and I think it's so important if you want to develop skills like you, or if I want to continue to try to improve, like these foundational things
important.
That aren't, you don't need these things to make art, but they are there for a purpose,
and they're crucial to even just be aware of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Art lesson over.
We touched over everything. We got the value, the composition.
Yeah.
Like a little brief. We did good.
I mean, these are things.
High
five. Yeah. I mean, it's so overwhelming for someone, because I remember me, again, I'm like mostly self-taught, but I'm watching these videos one after another, and they're talking about these things. And so you have to be stupid to ignore what these
just the basics.
Artists are saying. Yeah.
Connected to any sport. Connected to dance, ballet. When you come in, you have to know your posture.
Position one.
You have to have the positions. You have to have your feet a certain way.
Right.
You can, and that comes down to, I think, style, and stylization. Okay. If you have the foundation, you'll be able to maneuver whatever you want later, because you've kind of opened your mind into that. And I feel like I have all these different things that I try, and people always notice. It's one thing when you put things out and the way people react, and they're like, oh, it's so versatile. And for me, I'm just making whatever I'm in the mood in the moment. And I think it's okay. Because
you have this vast knowledge, though, of fundamentals and basics and hours put in.
It's okay because it forms, it finds one another later. And I think it's important and it's better to keep working in all these different things than to sit there and contemplate, what do I do? Which style do I do? Which medium? Just start. Just go for it.
Yeah, well, that's just
literally start with a mark and it forms.
Well, because people want to be able to paint masterpieces in one day.
Well, it's not possible, unfortunately.
Speaking of masterpieces, I think interesting, me and you are a little different in terms of you do a lot more sketching than I do, and I do kind of more finalized projects than you do. Do you think that's fair to say? Completed, big...
Yeah, I want to do more finished pieces as well.
That's my question. Do you have any cool projects, big sort of fully rendered composited things that you have
I have
planned?
So many things. First, in art school, we are trained to make, finished pieces and certain things. And I have so much I have to show in videos. I haven't showed my finished work.
Subscribe. Obviously, if you're not subscribed to Jess.
And subscribe to SLEW if you're not yet subscribed to SLEW.
I hope, yeah. I'm taking a little hiatus on my YouTube.
Now. If you learned something as of right now, you should subscribe.
Of course, because we love it. If you can't tell, we love it. We love it. But back to you.
So I think I'm thinking the self-portrait finished project was awesome. It was a really great learning experience. But then as soon as I finished, I started this, I guess working on that project opened my love back up to going out and sketching on location, because I think that those pieces are little miracles on their own, because they're moments captured with paint and a pen.
You're like at your level and your style, which is another that could have gone in our teaching.
Is there a style?
I think so.
The style exists.
Yes, and you have the coolest. You have like the style.
I don't even know what my style is.
It's.
I think.
Do you want me to try to define it for you?
I would like to see it in your eyes. 90
well, I'm talking about like your
pitch.
doodles and your thing. Obviously, there's multiple styles depending on medium and what you're drawing, but you have a naturalistic, anatomically correct, illustrative, graphic style. But that's not really defining actually. Now that I think of it, that's like literally just throwing similar words.
Do you since you've seen or met me like this past few hours, do you feel like a person's personality comes through their art? Like if you...
I don't really think so in a way that is probably different than what you're saying. Like I think that...
Like, do you think the art stands alone? Or it's like the topics that you love that... Because I looked through your sketchbooks and I think that like Slew's really into like all these like fantastical things, and like when, like you see his face lights up when he talks about it. And I think when I saw those pieces, I saw like a strong connect, like that's what I felt.
And I really appreciate that, and I think that's a very good insight. But I think that's the difference between me and you. I think my like,
and I feel like you love painting.
I do, and I need to be like really into something to get into it, to then put in the work and train and whatever, or even to hold myself to that standard.
That's everybody.
No, but I think you are so more talented and weathered and have worked so much longer to... And this is my perspective, it might be different to you, but to do anything, like you don't need almost to be obsessed with some random guy at a coffee shop, but you can just bang out some unbelievable composition.
You know what I think it comes down to? I think it comes down to, I was at a guest talk the other day and they're like, what are you inspired by? And I was like, life. Life.
But that's the truth.
It's true.
I've talked about this in depth.
Oh my God. Sometimes I walk on the street and I see a fire hydrant. And it's a beautiful red fire hydrant.
You're a true artist.
And there's leaves surround like a beautiful bush, and I'm like, everything must stop in that moment, and I must capture it. I try to see the beauty in everything.
You do, and you're in that. Yes.
And I don't know if that's part of me. I don't know if that's part of me, and I want to preach and share that with others.
So that's the thing, is like that question you asked me, when I see your work, do I see your personality? I don't really see your personality. I just see amazing artwork, and I see like the time and dedication. That's like that's like one of my issues. Like kind of what I was saying before is like when I look at even museums and I go, I'm thinking of how the painting was made, what the artist was using. Like,
and it's important to ask those questions and stay curious about it.
But that's sad sometimes, because I'm not sometimes appreciating the story or the significance of the piece of artwork. I go too much towards the engineering of it.
Yes,
which is sometimes a downfall.
But it's fine. It's the way you interpret it. It's not a downfall. I think that it's just the way you perceive it. It's your part of you, And I think when it comes down to making videos, and I'm sure every artist who makes art videos, the amount of work that it takes to complete a piece and make a video and plan the video and enjoy life and do all the other things that, it's a lot. So it's just hard work, and if you don't love it soul-heartedly, it's going to be very difficult, and many people end up giving up because they don't love it. And you have to like live and breathe it.
Yeah, you do.
And
you have
fall
to be
in love with the boring parts of things.
Well, that's like we were just talking. You have to be a recluse.
It's discipline.
It's so disciplined. And if you are interested in like going out and partying or like hanging out with friends or constantly watching Netflix shows, you will. Yeah,
I let go of anything. I never really did that, honestly. Yeah. I never really did that, and I just was always focused on my work. And I realized sometimes if I'd go out and I'd have fun, but when I'd be in my studio, there's such a euphoria and such a feeling, not even in the studio. And that's why I started coming out on location and interacting with people. It's just that feeling of dedication, and just being and painting gives you this feeling that nothing else can give you, I think.
But sometimes it can be frustrating.
Maybe
I think to piggyback on that, is the self-improvement is like addicting. It's like it's unbelievable to do something by you, for you, get better at it, improve, and then be able to make what you want because you've learned this thing that you love. You know, it's kind of like this ever-evolving cycle of perpetual, I'm learning more, I'm working hard, what I'm making is fulfilling, let me do it more sort of thing.
Yeah, and another thing is when you come out of art school, like people think that they're going to learn all these things, and you will, but it's also how you stay dedicated and how you stay disciplined after. Because I
bet that's the biggest problem for a lot of people.
It's and I want to talk about that and let other people know too, because it's all what you do. It comes down to how you discipline yourself and how you structure your life. And I think a lot of people mix up like art and personal life. I think it comes down to also what the kind of person you are, your values, and how you structure your life.
Continue, please.
And I think that when it comes down to everything that you do throughout your day, the way you form your habits, what you consume, it makes up a huge part of how you produce. And self-improvement was one thing that helped me progress. I was always seeking like
you're saying
books,
physical,
mental
improvement,
habits, like positive habits of, I mean, my positive habit can be different from yours, you know, but like slowly seeking out the things that you enjoy. I don't know, like I started to realize that it's hard to pay attention because life just zooms by, but it's important to reflect and understand, how are you taking your life? Where are you taking your life? Are you happy where you are? Does drawing from the model really make you happy? Does, I don't know, reading a book about rubber duckies feed your soul? I mean, maybe it does. Some things like that, you know. And then when you're feeling that good, you're able to make your best work. When you are at your best, when you're trying to be your best, better than you are the day before, don't compare yourself to anybody else. It's easy for people to, you see this figure, you want to be just like them, but just make incremental better, 1% better increment every day.
That's pretty aware for a 25-year-old.
Which will which will accumulate in, over time to build up. Like, you can't jump from here. Like, you can't leap. Yeah. You can, but it's easy to go like, you know,
well, that's the only way. I mean, it's also just way easier said than done. You know, it's like people, I think that's like kind of widely known. That's not some secret, but it's sometimes
it's overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think when you're drawing, we're doing good on time.
No, we're good.
When you're drawing and you created a piece, right? I think it's always important to look at it like this from far away. Okay, what did I do good about this? What do I like about it? What can I do better next time? And apply it. And I would always do that. And that's what I would always do, challenges. Yeah. Like 100 heads I'm just doing hundreds of everything now. I'm just consuming that. I'm taking it.
Was that the video that did really well? Really well. The 100 heads?
It's still doing really well.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Ahmed, he's also Al-Dori, I believe his name is. He started that challenge.
Ahmed Al-Dori?
Yeah, and then I just kind of like started doing 100. I want to do 100 cars, 100 flowers. Everybody's waiting for another one. It's coming, guys. We're going to have to do one.
That is so...
What do you think I should do? 100 what?
Flowers would be great.
100 flowers.
But flowers are like, can you find 100 different flowers?
100%. 100 expressions of SLEW.
We could get that easily.
Easily.
I want to talk about, that's really insightful, and I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear, especially younger kids that are on the borderline of trying to go to art school. But for you, looking forward, hard question to answer. I would struggle to answer it also, but 5 years, where do you see yourself? What are like bigger goals or aspirations within your art practice, within your life? I know we talked briefly about traveling. I don't know if you want to touch about that, but I'm curious if you look that far in advance for not just Jessica Karp in your personal life, but like your artistic career specifically.
So you mean based on like specifically through art?
Yeah, like I mean, I know you are an artist, that's your life, but like just like where you want to go, maybe with YouTube, your business, your own personal artwork. I don't know. It's open-ended and specific.
I think I have a really, really strong passion for teaching and helping and educating. So I think I'd want to somehow morph my own either platform or community where I can further do that and help others through art. And whether that's going to be through books, like I have a plan of it all. I'm not going to say it just yet, but I think it's also some things that will develop as you go. But I really have a passion for that, and I have a passion for like I just want to spread positivity through art. Like I think the world needs it, and I think that I really want to find a way to morph that. But books, writing, maybe film. I have a new love for film.
Yeah.
And, it's like a new secret that's developing. But you know, looking back, like life develops, your journey continues, and you just have to keep assessing, keep reflecting, and keeping yourself on track. And I think as long as that's happening, it'll get there. Oh, I guess it'll come. What about you?
That's a good question.
It's hard to decide those things, but
yeah, I think, you know what I think? This is kind of dramatic, but I think I'm coming to a very like cruxing, pivotal point in my life.
I think it's a pivotal time.
Well, also because
as well,
yeah, and like I don't know how long I'll have this studio, and that sort of is the dream umbrella / ball and chain on my life. And so my life, I think, is very dependent on whether or not I'll be able to keep the studio for another year after this year. I have like 8 more months on the lease as of right now that's paid for. And so after that, if I keep it for a 3rd year, that will really determine. And I'm nervous and excited, but so I don't really know. And so that's like kind of like...
Would you ever travel the world?
Yeah, I would. I think if I left the studio because I couldn't pay for it, I mean, I could still sell a lot of the equipment, and I could, there's a lot of things I could do.
Another thing about being an artist, guys, is financials that no one really talks about. It's a lot.
Yeah,
you have
I talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important we talk about, people talk about it, and we're kind of touching on all the topics, which is great.
No, which I like, because I think people who watch the podcast, or maybe not many, I tend to go the business route a lot because I'm very interested in it.
It's important to know that, like taxes and a lot of things that a lot of artists weren't aware of, and I personally wasn't at first, and you have to be on top of that too, and your own manager, business,
everything. I mean,
business planner and producer, editor. Oh yeah, how many is that?
I don't know, but we deserve a raise.
Octopus. We have octopus. We deserve a raise.
I know. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's great to like find your way through life, and
I think I want to write more. I have my big project right now is kind of like do these really big oil paintings, do 8 to 10, and then sort of write short stories about them.
Yeah, I love that as well. I think I've developed a great passion for writing. I've always loved writing, and in reality, when we make videos, we kind of write, we speak, and it's a form of writing. Sometimes do you write a script? Sometimes it comes out.
I have like a general outline, and then I have basically within the outline, I have like talking points, because another interesting thing is like, it's like you're filming, but you're also thinking of the edit as you're filming. So it's like I'm thinking of like intros or like updates, how I could do it creatively, blah blah blah, and then within that. But
sometimes would you say like sometimes when you start the project it like morphs? I don't know, for me, like everyone asks, like my videos seems like when I speak, believe it or not, sometimes I sit there like in front of the mic and I like close my eyes and just things come out and it just comes. It's that weird.
No,
sometimes.
It's not weird at all. I mean, you're
and then,
you.
But I've noticed some videos that did really well was when I planned them out and really like it's important to have a plan and at least an understanding.
Well, I think like a pacing is important.
Yes.
Especially for this day and age. We were just talking about you're uploading long videos and having a large retention
workflow,
but you have a great retention, so it doesn't even need to be fast paced like the Mr. Beast style, like anything can work as long as people are into what works.
And you got to put things out for you to know what works and what doesn't, because things will work, and mother algorithm, bless her soul, you never know. You never know.
Use mercy.
Don't say anything bad because she'll hear us.
I'm saying use mercy, please, I beg of you, algorithm. My YouTube channel is fickle, and anyways, I think you would make the best children's books.
I think have you seen the Fox?
Fox and the Hound?
The Fox like illustration I did, and
yeah.
So a lot of people really appeal to that piece. Like it's as an artist, when you put things out, you have to do what you love, but it's also interesting to see how things touch people and how they respond, and like what art people respond to.
Right.
So
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No. Do you want to continue?
No,
okay.
I'm good.
I'm sorry. I was gonna bring in sort of the business side a little of
your
life, because like you're outputting so much stuff, and we're talking about.
Gotta be a businesswoman.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about.
No one does my business, just me.
I know, you're great at it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're doing really well with selling prints and selling your merchandise, which is your artwork, which is amazing. But like looking towards these projects, talking about the Fox, are you like, I could leverage this idea? Do you mean
that is that what I think about prior to?
I don't want to say just think, but like, is that what crosses your mind? Is this a current in your mind? So which I hope it is, because that would be smart.
Yes, but at first when I made that piece, I was also experimenting, and then I eventually, when I finished it, I was like, wow, this would be. And at first, I loved it so much that I was nervous to sell. It was weird. I was nervous. You know, like sometimes as artists, we get attached to our work
so much.
But it's important. I've learned to slowly let that go, because it is your baby. It is
totally.
And then eventually, you have to understand that the spirit of it will live, and it's. And when I started selling it, people were contacting me how it was amazing to hold it, and that it was like a warming feeling for them, you know. And then as soon as I heard that and felt that from other people, I was like, please, I hope it lives and brings you warmth into your home.
And brings me money. I'm kidding.
And if it brings me money, more power to it. No, I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that. But I mean, selling prints is a lot.
It is a lot. And
I just want that money.
No, it's both. I mean, you want to be able to live, but
you have to be able to live. You have to be able to make a living as an artist and pay for things that require you to live.
Sure.
And people get that. People get that. Sponsorships is
no, but I also get what you're saying. Yeah, sponsorships is great. I also get that what you're saying is like you make something you love so much, it feels so personal, and like it's almost vulnerable releasing it.
It is. Yeah. It's very vulnerable.
And I also get scared of people. This is such like a insecurity and perhaps even sprinkled with some ego that like I get afraid that people are gonna like take it or like bite it or like copy it in a way that's like
it's gonna happen.
It's like the idea behind it.
I fear that all the time too.
It's gonna get hijacked.
I agree. However, and there's many people that draw my stuff on Instagram, and it's important that it's the intention. Yeah. You know, like completely. Some people don't intend to. It's not right to steal, but some people just want either to get your attention or they want to learn from you.
I think
but that doesn't give justification.
No, but I think if you shout the hey, this
is a touchy subject, very touchy subject.
I know, but I've gone through this a lot, and I've thought about it. I copy artists all the time, and I give credit where credit's due, and I think that's completely fine. If you want to paint every single one of my paintings to learn and say, hey, I'm mimicking SLEW.
As long as you say original. I learned from SLEW. Yeah. This is where there's nothing wrong with that. Gets touchy, but
if you're not giving credit where credit's due, then that's completely fraudulent.
But yeah, with the business side of things, I think when it comes down to creating pieces, and there's a whole other learning aspect of making prints and all of that stuff that we do, and merch, baby. I haven't made merch yet, but I think I'm gonna have to make a t-shirt soon.
Even sponsorships. I remember the first time we started talking was you asking me sort of for advice on sponsorship rates.
Because I wanted to reach out to I've never dabbled in that field, and I wanted to reach out and say like, is this like legit? Is as artists, it's important we talk about the price.
Totally.
Because you get your value in the end, and I'm really grateful that we connected, because you super helped me with understanding like that whole world.
Yeah, and I did the same exact thing to 1000, and he blessed me with his experience and knowledge.
You see, we all try to help one another, and that's awesome.
And it's interesting because like we have different ad rates, and there's there's that, but we're really not in competition with each other in terms of money, because someone watching your video in the long run probably will help me, because we're in the same world and videos pop up, and if they're watching you, there's a better chance that they're going to stumble upon my video, right?
And it's part of the way that we live. Like we do it for a living.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other businesses that are directly competitive that you want to just like smash and murder the component. So? I think so. I mean, that's more cutthroat business, like a restaurant.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I'm out no business,
But look, we all just try to do our best. We all just try. We really all.
You're just trying to be so positive and nice, and I'm being so.
It's me. You give me the negative, I'll always find you the positive.
No, I'm not giving the negative. I'm more.
You find me like a dirty rat on the street, and I'm gonna be like, "That's so cute."
Yeah, right. Let me draw the little worms coming out of its eyes. I'm more of a realist, I think.
Okay, I'm realistic.
No, I am a realist. Yeah, sorry.
I'm a realist
too. And I see positive. I try to, but I also
you won't know what's positive without the negative.
Right.
The yin and the yang.
Right. The yin and the yang balance. Do you want to get some food soon? I'm hungry.
Yeah. So I think we should finish off with something.
Please, I want you to open end if you want to talk about anything.
I think we should finish off with something. you can go first. A piece of advice that you would recommend. What's one piece of advice that you would recommend? Variety of levels of wherever a person is in their life.
Whoa, hold on. That's a big...
I know.
Just a
general piece of advice. From your experience. Let's think about that.
I have one that I've realized in myself that you kind of touched on. Try to really analyze what you actually like. Because there's these sort of like stories that you tell yourself or through society or through your friendships, parents, through an institution, school, where it's like, you like to do this, but like, what do you really like? And sometimes you do things that you like and you don't know. For example, like my fantasy novels, like I always knew I kind of liked these stories, but I never like dipped my toes in. And once I did, I realized that I really like this.
And when you realize you like something is when you start to try different things.
Yes.
And experiment.
So take that.
How do you know? You don't know until you try.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of like camouflage to like being just a sheep in society, and like you kind of get pulled these ways of what you should do.
Yeah, right. Very, very, and honestly, preach to that, because it's easy to see things on social media too, and you think, okay, this is how this person's doing, so that's how it has to be done. No, take time. And everybody falls into that of like, trying something that someone's done or morphed into their own, which is amazing.
Sure.
But I think it's important that you try to like go within. It's really hard. It's one of the hardest things is to analyze that.
It also sounds hippy dippy when you sound that, but like it's true. Like that's like a really
sometimes you ask people like, what do you love? What do you like to do? And people will stare like that blank and they don't know.
I could answer, but yeah.
I
love to paint. I love to make videos. I love to build things.
You love camera. You have photography.
I love cameras. I love epic high fantasy stories.
And I feel it because it shines through you. Like after
No, but you're right. I know a bunch of people who couldn't answer that, and that's really sad.
It is. It's not that it's sad. It's just maybe they're not up to that.
It's tragic. No, I'm kidding. They haven't had the opportunity to give themselves space to enjoy things and like pursue something because they're stuck in the rigmarole of life. That's my answer. What's yours? Such an open-ended question.
It is a very hard
advice.
Very hard. And everyone watching, think about a piece of advice that you would, and leave that in the comments.
And also take everything we say with a grain of salt because we're just young adults.
I always say find what works best for you.
In what are you talking about? Just life?
No,
art?
No more. Find everything you can about yourself. Like learn yourself through. You learn yourself through others. You learn yourself through experiences. I think I learn myself through art sometimes.
And how is the path to learning yourself? Is there an actual mechanism?
No,
journaling, I think, is important.
Journaling and reflecting, taking time. Oh man. And I think when I did the collab, I wanted to bring a piece of me that is so true and like authentic. That's why it started with the journaling, because what I do when I get an experience is I write about it, and I write it down and I reflect on it, because when you take that moment to marinate what is happening, like I got in the podcast room today and I really marinated.
Hell yeah.
Like it's a dream, and it's even just connecting with another artist makes me feel more like I'm learning about myself.
Totally. But I think you're
surrounding you, and you and everybody is in charge. You're in charge of yourself, and you're in charge. You're in charge. Like, I think I've learned that so many people think that others have to dictate. No, you are in full control, and you have the power to do what you want.
Damn, you're inspiring. That's valid. I think so too.
Do you agree?
Totally. And I think
you structure your life.
Right. I think some people have more opportunities to do that than others. Some people, like, unfortunately, don't have time to, or resources to.
No, they have time.
I think they have time to journal and reflect, sure, but
people have time to make small increments to those steps.
I completely agree. You're right.
People come from different places, and I understand there's certain circumstances. I mean. Yes, that's a different way to put it.
Right.
Different circumstances don't allow you. But there's miracle stories of people that come from.
Well, no matter what you're doing anywhere, you probably have a chance to take 5 to 10 minutes to write your feelings down.
If you really want something, you'll find a way.
I love that. That's inspiring. Is there anything else you want? What also do you want to tell the people what we're doing? Today, we already took a bunch of pictures. They're super hilarious. I'm probably going to paint you eventually.
Took some really nice artistic pictures of SLEW.
Yeah.
He was a great model, and we had a great time. Like, photography is a form of art, and
totally.
if you can expand again your skills on that, I love doing that. That was awesome, playing around with lighting.
And maybe later today we're gonna do some
drawing and painting on location.
Yeah, let's go somewhere in the city. It's probably one of the most beautiful day.
Yeah, don't tell anyone where it's gonna be. You're gonna have to watch that video.
Yeah, hell yeah. And let's get outside because we're stuck in this stuffy, hot now, marinating.
But this was really good.
I'm glad. I had the best time, and I could talk to you for hours. I'm sure we're gonna talk only longer today.
Yes, we're gonna continue to talk for hours.
And anytime ever you want to come back here, this is your home. You're more of a New Yorker than me, but if I still have a studio, you're welcome anytime.
I'll be back.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna have a great day.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously follow Jess if you made it through, and subscribe to her because she's incredible, and do all things. All the links will be down. Thanks, Jess.
And SLEW, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for being the awesome, this hospitality is incredible.
Of course.
And what you've created is really beautiful, and I know how much work goes into all of this.
Oh,
so
it's truly my pleasure.
Witnessing it and being around it and being in the space and the energy is I'm very grateful for it today. So thank you so much.
Of course. All right. That's it. See you later.
Bye, folks. That was awesome. You're such a
Oh my God, bro. Oh, I think my mouth was probably like.
My mouth was